The basic seam grip. Okay, so this is where everyone starts. The basic seam grip. You hold the ball with your index and middle finger on top of the seam, running straight down the middle. Thumb underneath for support. The seam points toward the batter. Simple. When you release it, the seam stays upright and the ball travels straight. If the seam hits the pitch at an angle, it might move a bit off the surface. That's called seam movement. Nothing fancy, just physics doing its thing. Every fast bowler learns this first. It's like learning to walk before you run. The outswinger grip. Now we're getting somewhere. For an outswinger, you angle the seam slightly toward the slip cordon. Index and middle finger still on top of the seam, but now the shiny side of the ball faces leg side. Rough side faces offside toward the slips. When you release it, the ball curves away from a right-handed batter in the air. The shiny side creates less air resistance, so the ball swings toward the rough side. James Anderson took 704 test wickets mostly doing this. He made a whole career out of getting the ball to shape away and nick edges. The key is keeping your wrist behind the ball at release. If your wrist falls over, the ball won't swing. It'll just go straight, and the batter will say, "Thank you very much." The Inswinger Grip. Opposite of outswing. Literally just flip it. Seam angled toward fine leg now. Shiny side facing offside, rough side facing leg side. Same finger position on top of the seam, but the orientation changes everything. The ball curves into the right-handed batter, heading toward the pads. LBW territory. Bowled through the gate territory. Wasim Akram was ridiculous at this. He could swing the ball both ways at 140 kilometers per hour, and batters just had to guess. Inswingers are great for trapping batters in front. The ball starts outside off stump, looks like you can leave it, then suddenly it's crashing into your pads. Umpire's finger goes up. You're walking back wondering what happened. The reverse swing grip. This is where fast bowling gets really interesting. Reverse swing happens when the ball is old, usually after 40 to 50 overs. Both sides are roughed up, but one side is slightly smoother than the other. Here's the weird part. You hold it the opposite way to conventional swing. For a conventional outswinger, shiny side faces leg. For reverse swing going away from the batter, you put the rough side facing leg side and the smoother side facing off. The ball swings the opposite direction to what the grip suggests, hence the name. Waqar Younis and Wasim Akram basically invented this as a weapon in the early 90s. Pakistan was unplayable with the old ball. Waqar took 373 test wickets, and a huge chunk of those were reverse swinging Yorkers that crashed into the base of leg stump. Batters couldn't pick it because the ball moved the wrong way. The physics is still debated, but basically the rough side creates turbulent airflow that actually reduces drag at high speeds. The ball swings toward the shiny side instead of away from it. You need to bowl fast though. 135 kilometers per hour minimum for reverse swing to really work. Maintaining the ball condition is crucial. One side needs to stay relatively smooth while the other gets properly scuffed. That's why you see bowlers obsessively polishing one side on their trousers. Also why ball tampering scandals happen. People cheat because reverse swing is that effective. The cross seam grip. This one's a bit chaotic and I kind of love it. Instead of holding the seam upright, you rotate it so it's horizontal, perpendicular to the pitch. When the ball lands, nobody knows what's going to happen. Not you, not the batter, not anyone. The seam could hit the pitch at any angle. Ball might go left, might go right, might just skid straight through. It's basically controlled randomness. Bowlers use this on flat pitches where nothing else is working. If the conditions aren't helping, just create chaos. Mark Wood does this sometimes when he's bowling 150 kilometers per hour and just wants to be unpredictable. Not the most skillful delivery, but effectiveness doesn't always require elegance. The Knuckleball Grip. Borrowed from baseball, adapted for cricket. You tuck your knuckles behind the ball instead of using your fingertips. When you release it, there's almost no spin. The ball comes out slower than expected and wobbles unpredictably in the air. Bhuvneshwar Kumar popularized this in white ball cricket. Death overs, batter expecting pace, suddenly this slower wobbling thing arrives, and they're through the shot way too early. Mistimed. Caught it long on. The grip looks weird. Your fingers are bent, knuckles pushing against the seam. It takes practice to not just drop the ball during your run-up, but when it works, batters look genuinely confused. The slower ball grip. Back of hand. Classic deception delivery. Instead of releasing the ball with your fingers behind it, you roll it out of the back of your hand. Your palm faces the batter at release. The ball comes out maybe 20 to 25 kilometers per hour slower than your stock delivery. The batter sees your normal run-up, your normal action, expects pace, and then nothing. The ball floats there. They've already committed to the shot. They're either skiing it or missing completely. Andrew Flintoff used this brilliantly. Big fast bowler, running in hard, and then suddenly a slower ball that barely reaches the other end. The contrast is what makes it work. The off-spin grip. All right, spin bowling now. Different world. For off-spin, you grip the ball with your fingers spread across the seam. Index finger and middle finger do the work. The ball sits in your hand, and when you release it, you're basically turning a doorknob. Your fingers roll down the side of the ball, imparting clockwise spin from the bowler's perspective. The ball pitches and turns from offside to leg side against a right-handed batter. Ravichandran Ashwin has over 530 test wickets doing this. He varies his speed, his trajectory, his release point. Same basic grip, infinite variations. The key is getting revolutions on the ball. More revs, more turn. Simple concept, lifetime to master. The leg spin grip. This is the hard one. The show-off grip. The ball sits in your palm. Your wrist does most of the work. At release, your wrist rotates from left to right, spinning the ball out of the front of your hand. The ball gets anti-clockwise spin and turns from leg side to offside against a right-handed batter. Shane Warne took 708 test wickets with this. His stock leg break was almost impossible to read because he could land it anywhere he wanted with massive spin. The problem? It's genuinely difficult. Your wrist has to be strong enough and flexible enough to generate spin without losing accuracy. Most leg spinners take years to become consistent. Many never do. That's why good leg spinners are rare and valuable. The Googly Grip. The leg spinner's secret weapon. It looks like a leg break. Same action, same run-up, same everything. But at release, you rotated your wrist the other way. Instead of spinning toward slip, the ball spins toward fine leg. It turns into the right-handed batter instead of away. The batter reads leg spin, plays for turn away from their body, and the ball goes the other direction. They're bowled through the gate or trapped LBW. Rashid Khan does this constantly. His googly is almost indistinguishable from his stock ball until it pitches. Batters basically have to guess. The grip itself is similar to leg spin, but your wrist position at release is completely different. It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. The Carrom Ball. This one's properly weird. You hold the ball between your thumb and middle finger. At release, you flick it out like you're flicking a carom piece. The ball squirts out with side spin, but the action looks completely different from normal spin bowling. Ajantha Mendis became famous with this delivery in 2008. He took 6 for 13 against India in the Asia Cup final that year. Batters had literally never seen it before. Nobody could pick what he was doing. Ravichandran Ashwin uses this too. It's become more common now, but it's still hard to read because the release point is so unusual. The ball can turn either way depending on how you flick it. Another guessing game for the batter. The Doosra. The off-spinner's googly, basically. It looks like an off-break but turns the other way. Away from the right-handed batter instead of into them. Saqlain Mushtaq invented it. Mutia Muralitharan perfected it. The grip is similar to off-spin, but you rotate your wrist and fingers the opposite direction at release. The ball gets overspin going the wrong way. Here's the thing, though. It's really hard to bowl legally. The 15-degree elbow extension rule made the Doosra almost extinct at the highest level. Most bowlers can't do it without straightening their arm too much. Muralitharan could because of his unique physiology, but he was the exception. You still see it occasionally, but it's rare. The laws basically killed it. The flipper. Leg spinner's variation that skids through low and fast. Instead of giving the ball overspin, you squeeze it out between your thumb and fingers. It comes out with backspin. When it pitches, instead of gripping and turning, it skids straight through and stays low. The batter expects bounce and turn. They get neither. The ball sneaks under their bat and hits the stumps. Shane Warne's flipper was devastating. He'd bowl 5 leg breaks that bounced and turned, then slide in a flipper that stayed ankle height. Batters look silly. The grip requires strong fingers. You're basically squeezing the ball out like a watermelon seed. Takes a lot of practice to control. The slider. Another leg spin variation. Similar concept to the flipper, but different execution. You hold the seam like you're bowling a leg break, but you release it with the seam pointing toward the batter, less side spin, more backspin. The ball doesn't turn, it just skids straight on. It's useful for batters who are waiting for turn and premeditate their shots. They move across expecting the ball to spin away, and it just goes straight past them. Anil Kumble used this more than the traditional leg break, honestly. His style was built around accuracy and the occasional slider that trapped batters in front. The arm ball. Off-spinner's straight delivery. Instead of giving the ball side spin, you release it with the seam upright and aimed straight down the pitch. It doesn't turn, it just goes on with arm speed. Batters expecting turn play inside the line and get hit on the pads. Or they play for straight and it's actually turning and they edge it. Either way, the arm ball creates doubt. Every good off-spinner has one. Ashwin's arm ball is particularly effective because his stock off-break turns so much. The contrast makes both deliveries more dangerous. The grip barely changes. It's all in the wrist position and seam orientation at release. The top spinner. This applies to both off-spin and leg spin. Instead of side spin, you give the ball pure overspin. It loops through the air with forward rotation, dips sharply, and bounces higher than expected. The grip is similar to your stock ball, but your wrist comes over the top more. You're rolling your fingers down the back of the ball instead of around the side. The batter thinks it's a half tracker and goes back to pull. But it dips, pitches shorter than they expected, and bounces into their gloves or chest. Ugly shots happen. Warne's top spinner was disgusting. He could drop it on a length from nowhere and watch batters fend awkwardly. If this helped you understand how bowlers grip the ball, hit that like button. Subscribe for more cricket explained simply. Check out these videos that are popping on your screen and let me know which topics you want to see me cover in next videos. Thanks for watching.